What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to you with a quick video. We're gonna talk about Bradley Beal and his situation. He has been the man in Washington for the last 3 seasons. As the last 2 years, he has been an All NBA player last year, including being an All Star and being an NBA leading scorer and a runner up last season, and averaged 31 points. So the year before, he averaged 30. Last year, he averaged 31. A lot of people was expecting Bill to be a legitimate All Star, and crazy enough, he's not even an All-Star, something that you wouldn't even thought about 2 months ago. You look at the fact that the Wizards was a top 3, top 4 team in the Eastern Conference, and it looked like they might be a legitimate playoff team, and 2 months later, they out of the playoffs completely, including the play-in currently as this video is being made. And Bradley Beal has also been injured, so that hasn't helped his case either. And on top of that, he has played better. A lot of people looked at Bradley Beal having a down season, and it is compared to the other 2 seasons. Rules have changed. Personnel has changed. He has more ball handlers, more guys that can get their own shot, more guys that can play with and without the ball compared to the year that he had Westbrook and the year that he didn't have John Wall, where he had to do more creation and more scoring, because remember, Westbrook missed a lot of games that season before he really started, putting it on towards the end of the season, which I'm talking about Westbrook. So this year was a little different. He had more weapons, more creators, more scorers, and he didn't have to do everything that he had to do the seasons prior. Plus, the rule changed a little bit, and his efficiency dropped compared to last year. His free throws dropped compared to last year. And it's just a whole different coaching system compared to what they had last year with Scott Brooks. So things changed. A lot of things changed, not only the personnel, but the coach, the game plan, the style of play has all evolved and changed in Washington. And I don't think we should panic. Obviously, like I said, they had a pretty decent season so far up until this point, and Bradley Beal started playing a little bit better before he went down. And unfortunately for them, they just don't look that good. I think the problem with the Bill situation is he is only 28. So it's not like he's a 34, 35, 32-year-old guy trying to figure out what he wants in his career. Obviously, he's having the best individual success that he has ever had the last 3 seasons. And it is kind of interesting to see, last year him and Westbrook, they struggled playing with each other and didn't have a lot of talent around them because of the injuries and the COVID situation that was going around last season. But they still did manage to make the playoffs last year. Didn't perform particularly consistent or well, or defensive play. They didn't play well defensively either last year, and that was one of the real reasons why they sucked, outside of injuries and not having a lot of good talent on the court all the time. But this year was a little different. They had a little bit more versatility. They had a little bit more depth than they did the last couple of seasons. And you thought that the more talent, the more, versatility that they added to this roster, it will have, immense amount of success, which, like I said, it did, especially 2 months ago. But it's a long season. I always try to tell people, like, 2 months, that's not even half the season. So, injuries happen, trades happen, free agency happens, buyouts happens, and things continue to change over the course until the playoffs happen, and they still have time to figure it out. Maybe somebody gets hot, maybe he gets it going, maybe the team start making their shots and their threes and defending and playing a little bit more aggressive. I feel like this team got more relaxed. They got a little bit more comfortable. The shooting kind of went down a little bit too compared to how they started off the season, and teams start figuring them out. Things are a little different when you're a new team, and teams got to figure out how to game plan against you, how to get adjusted to you. But they playing the same teams, and teams starting to get the knowledge and the data on them compared to the beginning of the season when teams had to figure out a whole new team, which this roster was. And they caught some guys off guard. They played hard. They won games. Guys was out. Guys was injured. And they took advantage of it. Now things are getting a little bit more realistic, where a lot of teams are getting healthier. A lot of guys are getting back, and games matter more. And the only reason why I say that is because now you're playing for positions to be in the playoffs. The first 2 months don't matter as much because you got a couple more months to go before the playoffs start. The problem is now, after the All-Star break, this is the time to make your run to be able to get yourself in that play-in or top 6 position, so you don't have to be in the play-in. So that way you literally can be in the playoffs. But that's the thing, like I said, with this Wizards team. is it really panic time when you're only one game out from being in the play-in tournament, which they are currently right now? And like I said, they didn't even have Bradley Beal the last 2 weeks, basically because of the injury. And if they win 3 games in a row, they back in the play-in conversation. They win a couple games out of the month, they probably back in the eighth seed. So they're not having a season where they're the worst team in the NBA and everybody thought they'd be good. They just had a bad run. Some teams have stretches where they win a lot. Some teams have stretches when they go on, a little bit of a bump and have a bump in the road. And that's what the Wizards are. I never thought the Wizards was a great or amazing team. Even when they got off to a great start, I always had that, in the back of my mind that we still have to give this team more time. We still have to see if this is what they really are. And it really wasn't a surprise to see them go into that middle range of, being a play-in/playoff team. So I think that's what they was about last year. That's where they're about this year. We just gonna have to see injuries and stuff. Like I said, still can happen, which could hurt them or benefit them and help them still be a playoff team when it's all said and done. But the question that everybody wanted me to ask is, should Bradley Beal stay? Bradley Beal loved being in Washington. He said that last year that he didn't want to leave. He wants to stay here. He loves playing in Washington. This is where he wants to be, to the point where he even signed a 1-year extension to stay in Washington again. And now he plays out this season with a whole different coaching staff and crew around him, and it's really the same result. They're not the greatest or best team, not one of the worst teams either. And you kind of figure out what can they do. What can they do? And the biggest reason why I say that is they in a situation right now where Bradley Beal either going to have to sign a long-term extension or they're going to get rid of him. The problem is that because you haven't really had a tremendous amount of success with Bradley Beal being your best player. They didn't have a lot of success last year with Westbrook. They had to do the play-in just to get a playoff spot just to go home in 4 games. And this year, they're going to be in the same predicament, and it's really no way to get better unless you trade guys again. But who is out there that can really change this roster for the better, as there's really no superstars that can really elevate this team to the next level that's available currently. And then we still have to see how they play and how they fit and what they have to give up to get that star. So that's going to be the question with the Wizards. And I think that they should probably, look to keep him. I still think that if they trade Bradley Beal this whole experiment, they will have to trade everybody. They will have to get rid of Kuzma, Harold, and all those guys. And it won't be difficult. It won't be hard because most of those guys are on good to solid tradable contracts. They don't really have no bad contracts really on this roster outside of Bertans, who isn't really worth the money that he's being paid. But that's really about it. Everybody else is either on rookie deals, veteran deals, or deals that actually, is what their value is, including Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal may not be the supermax player that he wanted to aim to be. Obviously, he was an all NBA player last year, which made him eligible to get the supermax, and that's the best way to keep him. If you can pay him the most money out of any team in the entire NBA and give him the most years, which the team that owns his rights can do, which is that 5th year that no other team can offer, along with being able to pay him the most money out of any team in the NBA, they can do that. The problem, like I said, is, and this is not my job, this is what they're going to have to figure out, is Bradley Beal worth the supermax? He did average 30 for 2 seasons in a row, which wasn't a fluke because he did it twice. He still is averaging 23, 6, and 4, which is still above average all-star caliber numbers, all NBA caliber numbers, especially if they won more games compared to where they are now. But like I said, the season isn't over. And, he's not going to defend. He's not going to lead you to a championship with the roster currently constructed. And you have to eventually figure that out. Like, if we're going to build this team around Bradley Beal, if this is our guy, he is a star, he is an all-star, he is an all-NBA player, which he has already became and done, how do we win with him? And that's the question that I will ask anybody that wanted me to answer this question is, how do you build a legitimate team with Bradley Beal? I mean, the best team they had was him and John Wall. And that team didn't get where, he's been as the best player. That's when he was the second best player. They got to the second round and was a game 7 away from being in the conference finals, which he hasn't even been able to get out of the first round, since he's been the guy. So that's going to be the big question. You know that he's a proven player in this league. You know that he's one of the best players in this league. But can Bradley Beal lead you to a title? Can Bradley Beal win you a championship? And if you believe that he can, which we don't know because he hasn't had the requisite talent around him to get the job done. Obviously, we have seen that since he's been the best player. This team hasn't really been that great with the personnel around him. And then you also got to figure out what is the personnel. Do we need a shot blocker? Do we need two other All-Stars, three other All-Stars, one All-Star, one great fit with other great role players? I think that's the biggest problem that Washington has had as an organization. Acquiring and getting the proper talent and stars. When they have the stars, they haven't really been able to get, that missing piece or enough pieces to be legit. This team hasn't been in the finals for a long time. This team hasn't won a championship in so many decades because it's just that difficult to do it in general. But Washington hasn't been a free agent destination, as we have seen even in the last 30 years, and they haven't been the best team drafting. They drafted right with John Wall, they drafted right with Bradley Beal and Otto Porter and those guys, but they never really was able to build anything dangerous with that team to the point where now they're just left with Bradley Beal, who hasn't really shown enough leadership, hasn't really shown enough, as an individual player, and it is too because he doesn't have the talent around him to really win, that he can get it done. And that's going to be the question that Washington and Bradley Beal are literally going to have. I think this is legit. They're going to have that conversation. Bradley Beal, what do you want? What do you need? And what can we do for you? Because I don't feel like the Wizards have put the right talent around them. I don't think they have put the best fits around them. And I don't think he literally, since he's especially been the guy, had a legitimate chance to prove that he can, be dangerous. He has been a great playoff performer, and that we know that's factual. He has been a great regular season performer, as he has been an All-Star and All NBA player already, and led the NBA in scoring. But can they do their job? Can they put the talent that's necessary and needed for this team to win it all? And if they feel like they can, they have to prove it because they haven't done it these last 3 seasons. And on top of that, the problem is, Bradley Beal only getting older. He's not this 2021 rookie going on his rookie extension to his next extension. This is a guy that's on his prime extension. These are probably going to be the best years of Bradley Beal's career, these next seasons on his contract, and you're trying to maximize your window of how many games and how many dangerous playoff games you can win with him. And that's why you got to contemplate, do we really want to invest a supermax in Bradley Beal? Because this is going to be our guy. He still will be tradable under the supermax, because he'll be in his 30s and he's only 28 now. If he signs, he'll be 29 when the season starts, and then it won't even kick in anyway. But that's going to be something that they need to really decide. What do you need? What can we do for you? And if not, we might have to, do a sign and trade and get you out of here. Because there's no point of keeping Bradley Beal around if you're not going to win with him. Like I said, what's the point of giving Bradley Beal 4 to 5 year contract when you can't win with him? And that's going to be the question is, we know what Bradley Beal can do as a player, but how do we put the team around him? What can we really do with him? And that's something that this organization really going to have to figure out within the next couple months, because Bradley Beal is in a situation where if he decides to leave, the Wizards will get nothing unless they do sign and trade him. And they also in a position where they can extend him now or in the future. So they got a lot of weight right now. They don't have to rush to trade Bradley Beal because he's going to be a valuable player regardless, because he's one of the best players in the league. They also got to figure out what's his worth. Is he worth just a max? Do they want to give him the super max just to give him a reason to stay, as he already wants to stay? Plus, they rewarded him for staying, and that gives him a incentive to want to, stay a couple more years because this is the most years and the most money you can get. But like I said, to me, I'm a guy that's all about winning. Like, I don't really want to give super maxes out for loyalty if I'm not going to do nothing but trade you anyway and just get a bunch of pieces and rebuild, when I can just trade you now when you're at your best. And we know that for sure because you playing this year in the last couple seasons. And we can also get pieces and rebuild now instead of waiting 3 years from now when you might be a little beat up, a little worse. And then we got to trade you just because we got to get out of the contract, or we got to get you off this roster so we can rebuild. So this is a situation where they really need to be on the same page. Bradley Beal, what do you want? What are you trying to accomplish? what can we really do since these last 3 seasons haven't worked out? And, they got to figure it out as a team. If the organization best thing to do is get rid of them, if the organization is the best thing to wait two more years to see if they can get something in the draft, to see if they can get some more pieces, to see if a guy become available that may be interested. Maybe we give you the contract and then we can figure it out, during the contract. It's tough. It's going to be a business decision. It's going to be a decision that will ultimately change what this organization is going to be. Trading Bradley Beal make you worse. Trading Bradley Beal make your rebuilding team earlier. Keeping them give you hope that you can still be competitive. You can still be in a playoff picture, and you can possibly, by still having Bradley Beal, have the opportunity to get another star to come play with them, and then you can be more dangerous if you can put the right talent around them. But they felt the same way when they had him and John Wall, and it never happened. They felt the same way with him and Westbrook. And when you looked at both of their contracts and the fact that Westbrook made so much money this year and last year, and Bradley Beal makes a lot of money too, plus you're going to give him the max or the super max, and Westbrook is only getting older, you knew that your window with winning a championship was probably non-existent with Westbrook, and with John Wall coming off an Achilles injury, and also his whole leg could have been gone, and you didn't really know how he was going to play, so you traded him for Westbrook. That era is gone too at this point. So the Wizards, they don't have to rush. I don't feel like they have to rush. I don't feel like the bullet to their head. I don't feel like Bradley Beal is even pushing them to force it. And like I even say, this season to me is not a panic season because they're 3 games away from being back in the play-in, 4 months away from being back in the playoff spot, and then they back a playoff team by the end of the year, which they got a couple more months and weeks to go anyway. So, this is a controllable, manageable, conversational situation that can work for the Wizards and Bradley Beal if they can really figure out what they're trying to accomplish together, or if it's best to go their separate ways early now, or if Bradley Beal really want to be the man and really feel like he can get it done, maybe you do give him the extension and just wait to see what happens the next 2 seasons within, the next 2 seasons, and maybe opportunity comes where you can get better. Maybe a player comes where you can get better, and then you going into, being a playoff team and more dangerous. So, I don't think this is a rush, panic, they terrible, blow it up type of situation. I do think this is what's best for Bradley Beal, what's best for us. Maybe we can figure it out together. If not, they do have to, get it done eventually because Bradley Beal, once that contract is up, he literally can leave if he wants to. And then they're just basically going to have to do the sign and trade, like I said, and just get scraps for an all-star, all-NBA player, which is, worse than what they can get now. So they got to figure this out, these next couple months and really figure out what they're going to do. So if I had to be honest, this is more of wait and see. Because Bradley Beal, like I said, he really does want to be in Washington. Washington really seemed like they love having him, and it's not a money thing. Because obviously Bradley Beal would have been signed to max or the super max by now because they could have offered it to him. So I don't think it's a money thing. I do think that Bradley Beal is a player that eventually is going to have to prove that he can win as a player and as a star player. And that's going to fuel him as he goes into this prime extension that he can possibly sign with them or somebody else. So, the ticking time bomb will start, once they know that Bradley Beal feel like it is no hope or no desire with this current organization. And that's usually when the person, put the finger to the bullet and the gun to the organization, say I'm out. Yeah, I don't think they at this point with him or he's at this point with them, but that extension has to be discussed at this point because he is in a situation where he can walk and leave them nothing or leave them with scraps, and that's the worst thing for the organization. But will be ultimately the best thing for him. But it doesn't really work like that when you're under contract, for the most part. So Bradley Beal, y'all gonna have to figure this out. Maybe him being injured, maybe they can figure out what direction they really need to go in with him and what direction that he needs this organization to take him in for him to really want to be committed and stand and feel that he can really get it done with this Wizard organization. But, to me, I'm still on cool side. I don't think it's a rush panic decision that need to be made right now. And I don't think this season has been a season where it has been a complete disaster, at this point, even now. So we'll see. You know, I'm kind of like just grind it out a little bit more. Play the season out, and then y'all can make our decision then. I'm more of that type of guy right now with this Wizard team and Bradley Beal. So that's my answer. Other than that, enjoy y'all day, enjoy the night. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis signing out. See y'all Sunday. Keep hoopers, keep hooping, do y'all thing. Enjoy the night.